most people would say, what's wrong with my kids? Well, what are you doing? What's wrong with you that we need to solve? Because I really think it's the leader that has to have the change first. And in the home, we're the leader. Hey guys, welcome back to the Something New show where we like to learn how to live a life worth celebrating. And today's episode is about parenting, but you're going to be like, what? When I tell you why, because we definitely don't have it put together when it comes to parenting. But as I co-teach this lesson with Jordan here, we want to talk to you about where we're at today in our parenting journey. So Jordan, almost 16 years of being parents, and we have 4 kids, just to recap, 7, 10, 12, and 15. And basically, I still remember the time we started talking at the end of the year in 2024 about what does 2025 look like for us. And we always like to have a personal goal and a goal together regarding what are we going to do this year to just reach the type of person we're trying to become. So one of the things we've talked about every year at the end of the year is like, hey, do we want to hire a life coach, or do we want to hire a personal trainer? Or is this a year where we get more counseling? But we try to go all in on some area. And we were sitting together at the end of last year just saying, what is it that we really feel like our tension is around? Because usually you have tension because you don't know where to go from here. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you would even hire someone to show you the way forward. And
really, what needs to improve the most?
Yeah, what needs to improve the most. And when we're in the thick of it as humans, I highly recommend finding somebody that's already down the road a little bit, and that could be in any arena. But when you have tension around something, let's say it's your health, if you can't figure out what's wrong, you got to go to someone that can help you. If you can't figure out why you are stuck in business, the smartest thing you can do is hire someone that can help you to get out of that being stuck. So what I would say is we sat around and we said, hey, what's the thing we have most tension around? And honestly, it wasn't our relationship. It wasn't our health. We've really tried to dial some things in. It was parenting. We both looked at each other and said, the most of our days that we sit at home and we're frustrated, if there's a moment of disappointment, it's usually centered around parenting. We feel like we haven't gotten through to a kid, or that there's conflicts within the relationship of the siblings. We've, disciplined differently, and we've looked at each other and we're like, this is hard. This is so hard. Do you want to speak to that moment last year when we're like, this has been our hard moment? Like, it's just, I think, exhausting.
Yeah. Since our oldest is 15, it's not just about him, but I'm also looking at like, man, we're getting into seasons of parenthood and life where we need new knowledge, we need new insight and mentoring from people who've been further down that road, right? And so new chapters, new challenges, new opportunities, new beautiful moments in life, right? With the age that our children are right now. But I felt this like prompting, man, I've got to read different books. I've got to learn different things because we're going into new territory that we really are unfamiliar with. So when we were even, we did some interviews and calls and trying to see like, do we want to go this direction with, some coaching for us or some mentoring in this? We had that discussion too. Like, we really need somebody to take us where we want to go and that they have actually been there before, or two, people that want to teach us something that we need to know. And so to me, it's really important, like, find somebody who's further down the road and who has legit experience and results. And that was part of our dialogue as a couple too.
Yeah, we literally could. We could always get better in health. We could always get better in business, but we decided this was the year to learn more about parenting. So we got boots on the ground and really, asked some mentors of ours and friends, like, hey, what are some good books and different things? And we heard, because whenever you start to look for something, you can find it. It's almost like your subconscious starts listening for conversations about or whatever. And so we had this desire to grow in our parenting. And so our ears were tuned in to like, how can we get more help on parenting? And we found a parenting coach, which I didn't even know those existed. Like, that was just the craziest thing ever. But one of my good friends was telling me, she's like, yeah, well, I just asked my parenting coach. And I said, what's a parenting coach? And I learned that there are professionals out there that can help you with your parenting, and you talk through, what's going on at home. You get insight about things that you can change as a parent, because I personally believe that we can't change our kids' choices or, what they want to do, but we can change what we do to set up an environment where it leads them to make good choices. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, what am I doing wrong? Honestly, I asked a parenting coach, like, what's wrong with most people would say, what's wrong with my kids? And I always go into these moments and I say, well, what's wrong with me? Like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with Jordan? What are we doing that's making these frustrating moments happen? Just like my favorite thing to tell an entrepreneur is when they say, oh, I'm having a hard time with my staff. I'm like, well, what are you doing? What's wrong with you that we need to solve? Because I really think it's the leader that has to have the change first. And in the home, we're the leader, we're the coach, we're the teacher, we're the everything. So I really was super humble, I would say, in our sessions at the beginning, because I said, okay, coach, parenting coach, what am I doing wrong? Like, this is what's frustrating me. And I feel like I'm on a wheel and I'm not getting anywhere. And so, it's been really cool. We have been working with our coach for about 3 months now, and we're really committed to it. It's not always easy. It's actually, it's hard because I'm embarrassed to say, this is how I handled this situation, or I yelled at my kid, or I disciplined this way. That probably didn't help anything, did it? And she's like, nope, it didn't. So I'm just saying it's been super eye-opening, but also transformative. And I can't wait to see, how it continues to evolve. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to tell people that if they have struggles in different areas of life, like, the first step is to get a coach, get somebody who's doing it well, and let them help you find your blind spots and make a way forward. Looking for the perfect vacation spot to disconnect from everything, put your feet in the softest sand, and enjoy a fresh, renovated 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse right on the beach in my favorite place in the world? Well, 30A is situated in the Panhandle of Florida, and I'd love for you to check out Something Blue 30A on Instagram and make it the perfect place for your next vacation.
Yeah, and that's a half step even between that is, read something you've never read before, or
Right.
find some trusted resources of people further along who've put it down on paper of like, here's some principles, here's some frameworks, here's some tactics on how you can be a better parent. Because a couple of things with what you said, like, I love this exercise. If you ever do it on a whiteboard or just a piece of paper, like, you can draw, a picture of a tree with lots of big branches and big full tree, and then start listing out like the problems, or even one problem, and try to go from like the top of that tree all the way to the bottom of the roots and saying like, okay, here's a problem. We don't like how there's interaction in our home, or there's people's emotional health and frustration gets, to an elevated level, right? Well, then you say, okay, what causes that? And then what causes that? And you go deeper and deeper from the top to the bottom of the root. I think that's a journey we've been on as well too. And I would encourage people to kind of frame that out of like, what's the real root cause of some of the things? And what we've found is like, some of it's, we could be wiser in how we communicate with our children, how we communicate with each other, how we create expectations that are really clear in our household, how we can really use healthy psychology of how we phrase things and how we work with our kids and how we empower them with freedom. So that's a little bit of what I've experienced in our first 100 days of getting some more input and coaching. And then the other thing is, it's, people, okay, you can't truly change. I keep thinking of this phrase of like, you can bring a horse to water. You can't really make them drink. However, you can put salt in their food and makes them more thirsty. And so we're trying to be in that season of like, how do we create influencers in our home and our household that help really get the end result of what we want in a healthy, thriving family that's respectful in all the different aspects of life, through the ups and downs and through the realities of having emotions and kids growing up and learning.
So I just wanted to be very transparent and vulnerable here with our friends and our listeners. And I know many of you are listening in my real life. Like, I'm friends with you guys. And I always like to share what I'm learning and what I'm doing. So I wanted to give you guys this idea that she's asking us to really think about these 4 questions. And so I don't necessarily have the answer to them, but it is our homework right now. And then I was going to tell you also the book she's asking us to read with our teenagers. So the 4 questions our parenting coach is asking us to answer right now is, what does success look like in your home? Number 2, what's happening right now. Number 3, how are you responding? And number 4, what are you going to change and do differently?
To get the outcome you want and desire, right?
Right. To get back to number 1, success looking like in your home. So this is something we are going to breakfast about regularly and talking about at our breakfast table. What does success look like in your home? What's happening right now? How are you responding to that? And what are you going to change and do differently? So those are just really good conversations to have with your spouse or whoever you're parenting with, because that's going to lead to some deeper things behind the thing behind the thing. And then the book that we're reading right now that we don't
real
have.
Quick, and I think beyond just conversation is also writing down those key questions and the state of the union within our family and household of what is the reality? Like, okay, here's our envisioned future. Like, this isn't perfection or things, but we're saying like, what's a healthy, realistic like success for our family home and atmosphere? Mm-hmm. What is it like right now? How are we responding to that reality in the day to day? Especially like, hey, after school, let's be real. Like there's different intentions, plans, emotions, ideas of what 4 kids want to do. And that kids got home from school to kids getting to bed is like a beautiful time, but also it's a lot to help facilitate and manage as parents. So that third question is how are we really responding and helping engage with our kids on that? And then 4, like what needs to be different and better, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're working through this week is how do we literally chart some of that out and write it down, not just talk about it, to really push ourselves and say, let's get it extra clear, get it on paper.
So the book that we're also listening to, and you can read it, listen to it, whatever is your format of choice, but we are listening to it at night on audio, is Feeding the Mouth That Bites You. It's part of our homework assignment. And the takeaways are still in balance, meaning we are still chewing on it. So it's too early for us to have takeaways, but it's really about the teenage years and how our teenagers really want us to give them more autonomy and trust their judgment. And I'm like, yes, I see that very much in my teenagers. Like I see the desire to just believe that they will make good choices and to believe in them. And then to not start with not get them started on the defense of like, well, why'd you go there? Who were you with? And things like that.
Because a lot of things we'll just ask as sincere, curious questions, and all parents do this. And for the teenager, they'll be like, subconsciously, like they're questioning my judgment, therefore they get defensive or they don't want to talk about it. When the parent's well-intended, it's just like wanting to better connect and have understanding of their kid's journey, right? Their teenager's journey. But the stark, simple, obvious truth is like parenting our 15-year-olds way different than our 7-year-old right now. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to continue to learn from others who are further down the road. And there's rave reviews about this book and its frameworks, and I'm loving it. Of just like, how do you recognize what's going on inside of the heart and mind of a teenager who's growing up? And I remember those moments. I mean, you do too, of like, you want more and more freedom. Our oldest just got his permit. He's a good driver. He's getting more and more practice on the roads.
Be independent right now.
And at the same time, there is a bit of coaching and like, art to how do you have different questions and prompts and conversations that reinforce like, hey, I trust your judgment and freedom and it's your call on this. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, having some freedoms, but also some boundaries for kids in those teenage years. So I'm loving the book. I can't wait. I'm going to listen to it multiple times, honestly, because there's so much to it.
Yeah. And like I said, it's too early for us to give a full review, but it's definitely challenging our thought patterns and we're chewing on the content. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. So, anyways, I hope this was helpful and encourages you to dive deep into your parenting so that the end goal really, you guys, is to raise amazing adults that contribute to their communities. So I'm not just trying to raise people that that I'm proud of or that have these accomplishments, but I'm like, are these going to be people that when I send out into the world, they're pretty passionate about taking care of their family and their community as adults? That is what we're raising. And I think the sooner we can get on board with that mission, then we focus on the things that matter most.
Yeah. And I'll share a quick example is, our 15-year-old, he just recently helped with a whole season of something we host here at Something New, and it's called a JDW Cotillion, but it's like etiquette and manners class. And he was one of the student helpers, right? Because he's been through the course over a couple different years. And we had these conversations with him where he's like, why am I doing this? What is it really helping? Is it making a difference? But we looked at him and we were saying, like, okay, one, you're helping serve other people that are, 4 or 5 years younger than you, and you've been in their shoes before. But then two, like I looked at it, I was like, you just really gave back to the community and our circle. Some are friends, some are total strangers and people in this area. Does he get a letter of recommendation from the group and the whole thing that helps in life? Sure. But like beyond that, I was trying to help him understand, like this is small steps in the right direction of being someone who's giving to your community, who's giving back, beyond just, somebody, and our kids aren't this style, but like you're not just sitting there playing video games in life, right? You're doing proactive things that help you grow into the person or an adult who's contributing to their community. So that was a fun, like real life conversation we were having recently with our oldest.
Yeah, it's been fun. So anyways, I hope you guys really do dive deep into do you have a area of your life that you are experiencing ongoing tension with? Then I would say go to YouTube, buy a book. There are a lot of free mentors out there. And if you are able to financially afford it, get a coach, because it will help you reach those goals and be set free from some of those challenges that you don't know what you don't know. And then if you are going through things as parents where you're like, I want to just be the best parent and investor in my children as possible, I would definitely sit down and answer those 4 questions this week and start to read that book with us and see. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Are you enjoying that book? What are your key takeaways? So thanks you guys for joining us in a crucial conversation around parenting. And we hope to hear from you. Like I said, leave us some comments below, and we'd love to talk about any other hot topics around parenting or marriage, and we'll do those episodes in the future. Thanks again for joining us on today's episode of the Something New Show.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow the Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.